You're listening to another episode of Coaster101. My name is Eric. I'm filling in for Andrew today. I'm joined by Nick Weisenberg. Hi, Nick.
Hello.
And then also Shane Joseph. Hi, Shane.
Hey, how's it going, guys?
And we are here today because Shane has been to Epic Universe several times, and Nick and I are both
Yes.
very jealous of him and want to hear all about it. So we're going to let Shane do a lot of the talking today while Nick and I ask him questions about
For
Epic
sure.
Universe.
I'll try to keep things short as best I can.
Yes.
No promises.
Spoiler warning, we won't go into too many like fine details of things, but like if you don't want to know anything about the park or rides at the parks, if you want it to all be a surprise, stop listening. Go listen to some old episodes of the podcast instead.
Yeah.
I guess we can jump in, Shane. So how many times? So you were going during technical previews. You know, people who work the parks who were able to bring you stuff like that. How many visits?
Yes.
Total were you able to make?
So I was able to do 3 visits over about a month.
Okay, cool. Was there? I guess like during that, there's still like construction going on and testing happening. Were there a lot of things that were?
For sure.
Were there things that were not up yet, not running, not open?
I would say pretty much everything was ready. The first time I went, because the biggest gap was between the first and the second time, it was like 3 weeks.
Okay.
And then the last 2 I went in the same week. So nothing much changed there. But the first time I went, there was definitely some things like, you know, a couple minor things being painted or signs that weren't in yet. But other than that, like pretty much all the lands, everything was for the most part done. Maybe there was like 1 or 2 restaurants that weren't, but it's not like there was like scaffolding everywhere and you know, unfinished walkways, nothing like that. Like it was pretty much ready to go from the beginning.
So you feel like you got a pretty complete picture, if not
definitely
90% complete picture.
Time.
Yeah, cool.
This most recent time was pretty much 100%.
Cool.
And when you walked into the park for the first time, like what was your first impression? What was the feeling like of going through those gates for the first time after, you know, watching this thing be under construction for the past several years?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that was a pretty unbelievable moment because like if you're a theme park fan like us, like you've known about this really from before it was announced. So actually being able to go in there after like tracking all the details, the announcements and everything so closely, it's pretty surreal, especially because it looks almost identical to the photos and the concept art that were shared ahead of time. Like this is what it's going to look like. It pretty much looks exactly like that. I think so. It's definitely going to hit a lot of people in that way where you just walk in, and especially the way it's laid out, where there's this giant park in front of you, and there's like planters and there's gardens and there's water features. It's really one of the most stunning like first impressions I've seen from a park for sure.
Maybe just in case anybody hasn't seen like the overhead pictures or maps of it yet, can you give kind of like a summary of the layout? And it's possible I'm also forgetting at some portals like what all the definitely different lands are.
And it's also, I'll talk about it too because it's a little bit different than what I imagined also, even after looking at the pictures and the model and the preview center and everything. So essentially the park, there's 5 lands in the park, or worlds they call them, 5 worlds. The main one, so as soon as you walk into the park, you are inside of Celestial Park, which is the main sort of their, I don't even want to say main street.
The hub?
Essentially, it's the entire park. Yeah, it's the hub. Yeah. And Celestial Park is themed around this like cosmic garden that I think they've called it like a world between worlds, basically, where it's the center of the park where it's cohesive and everything kind of comes together there. And it is full of trees and flowers and little waterfalls and streams and things like that. It's basically the connective center in between, because unlike pretty much any other park, you can't walk from land to land. You have to enter into the hub. So like there is no connection between Super Nintendo and Dark Universe. So, actually, speaking of that, so to go into the other lands, all the other 4 lands are intellectual property, so they're franchises. So there is Super Nintendo World, Dark Universe, which is the Universal classic monsters like Frankenstein, Dracula, the Mummy. Then there is the Wizarding World of Harry Potter, Ministry of Magic, where the whole exterior is 1920s Paris from the Fantastic Beasts movies, and then the interior is the 1990s Ministry from the Harry Potter movies. And then there's the How to Train Your Dragon Isle of Berk area. And the layout is interesting because the portals are kind of in the back half of the park. When you walk in, Celestial Park is pretty much the front. I actually would compare it to Magic Kingdom, where you walk into the train station and then the first, like their hub, and I guess what you'd call their portal, which is Adventureland. It's probably around the same distance, a little shorter, but it feels kind of like that, where there's kind of this main area where you walk in where there's a couple shops. There's the carousel that's right in the middle. And you have to kind of go on either side when you walk in. So the left side would be Nintendo and Dark Universe, and then the right side would be How to Train Your Dragon and Harry Potter. And then in the very back of the park is the Grand Helios Hotel, which is the sort of in-park hotel, which is pretty much the one thing that you can see from anywhere in the park. It definitely is like a huge like presence within the park. You can pretty much see it from in the lands is different because there's sight lines in there, but even some points in the land you can look up and see it.
So I've learned something already, I think, in my head without having actually looked at a map recently of the park. The hotel was at the front, the way like at Tokyo Disney Sea, the giant hotel
it's
is the
different.
entrance of the park, and it's like, oh no, this is
Right.
at the back. So I assume that means if you're paying a very large amount of money to stay there, you also get to enter through the back of the park.
Yes, you pretty much get your own entrance. So
just very quickly, because you stayed at or visited the other hotels?
Yeah, so I've been to the new value, or I think they call it Prime Value resorts. So there's I always get this mixed up. It is Stella Nova and Terra Luna are the two. And I can't tell you the amount of times I've said like Stella Luna and Terra Nova.
I wouldn't know if you were correct or not anyway.
No, yeah. I had to fact check my articles about a dozen times to make sure.
And they're pretty similar.
So
like they look the same, right?
They look, identical.
They both have the tiles.
The tiles are the same. One of them just kind of curves inward. One of them curves outward if you're looking at it from the road. But basically, they're the same. Those are pretty close. The Stella Nova Hotel has a walkway that you can get to. And then at Terra Luna, you can walk to Stella Nova and then take that walkway.
Okay.
So it's still probably like
but it's
I would say probably 15 minutes from Terra Luna and like 10 minutes from Stella Nova. So
right.
it's still very close.
Definitely doable. Not like the Disney resorts where you're stuck. You've got a 15-minute bus ride ahead of you to get to a park.
If you're at those ones, you can walk.
Okay. That's good to know. That was what I wanted. That was the main thing I wanted to know about the hotels was like, are those two off somewhere else?
No, they're fairly close. So if you're going, and there are parts in the park you can see those too, from certain areas of Celestial Park. So yeah, I mean for value, like Stella Nova, I think is like at most like a 160 or 180 ish a night. So I mean compared to the $600 rooms at Grand Helios, I would recommend at one of the values for sure.
So Celestial Park, let's get back to that a little bit more. So it's sort of the main area. I know there are also attractions in it. So the Stardust Racers,
there's 2 attractions.
What's the second attraction?
The second one is the carousel, Constellation Carousel. And then technically they have a splash pad that they count as an attraction. So we could say 3, but as far as I had experienced, there was 2.
So Stardust Racers, Dueling Coaster, Racing Coaster. If anyone wants lots of details on it, Shane has a very detailed review up on the website.
Yes.
Should definitely go read it. I know at the beginning of your review, you say something along the lines of this might be Universal's best coaster.
Yeah, I mean, it's really tough. Okay, so let's just get into Stardust Racers.
Yeah, we don't have to go into all the detail, but since we're in Celestial Park to start, let's.
Yes, go read the article if you want all the details, because I literally, it was a part of my full Epic Universe article that I'm still working on, and that article has now split into like 5 or 6 articles because there's so much to say. But yeah, so Stardust Racers is a coaster made by Mack Rides. It is 2 separate coasters, so it's not a Mobius like Twisted Colossus. It is 2 coasters, 2 credits as far as I'm concerned, but 1 attraction where it is a dueling racing coaster that is pretty much the staple of Celestial Park. So even, I mean, when you're on the road, when you're driving up to the park, you can totally see Stardust Racers from a pretty good distance away. So I think it's definitely going to be an iconic part of the skyline. But when you're in the park, certainly, even like from Isle of Burke, which is right next to Stardust Racers, you can clearly see it. So this really dominates a good part of the skyline, and it is the anchor really of Celestial Park. The story is that the Celestians, which are the residents of Celestial Park that can travel between the portals to different worlds, they like to capture comets and ride them across the cosmos. So that's the theme of Stardust Racers. The trains are super cool. There are tons of LEDs in the trains. They really look like comets when you're there at night because there's no exterior track lighting at all on Stardust Racers. So you will only see the trains if you're in the park at night. And it is a pretty incredible coaster. It's tough. I'm going to need more rides on it. I don't know if I can say that it's better than Velocicoaster yet.
I was going to say that feels like Universal, especially. It's hard to beat because I think we all agreed. Although I don't remember any of our polling, what we tried to figure out. Velocicoaster is the best coaster in Florida. Maybe was what we concluded.
I think we said
We said that. I would say. I mean, in my personal rankings, it is. I don't know if I can say Stardust Racers is better quite yet, just because I've been on Velocicoaster probably 50 times more than I have Stardust Racers. But I can confidently say that Stardust Racers is a more fun attraction. I think it will.
Purely on like an intensity level,
yeah.
How does it compare to like a Velocicoaster? Like at Stardust Racers, do you think a little more family friendly than maybe Velocicoaster is?
Probably, yeah. I think it's probably. I wouldn't say it's family friendly because I don't know that. I would necessarily bring some family and friends on it. But I would say it's probably about the level of maybe something like Rock and Roller Coaster at Disney.
Okay.
Where it's fairly intense. I think what's going to get a lot of people is the height, which there's a couple moments where you're pretty far off the ground on Stardust Racers. Velocicoaster is really just that one top hat moment. Stardust has a lot more like big, like sweeping hills and things like that. But overall, I would say it's pretty close to Velocicoaster intensity-wise.
And each of those tracks is 5,000 feet long, which is super long nowadays. Yeah. I think the last roller coaster in the United States that long was Guardians Cosmic Rewind.
Probably.
Which is crazy because it's all indoors. But yeah, I think those are the only roller coasters in the U.S. that have been built that are over 5,000 feet long in like the last 5 years.
Oh, I believe it. It feels long when you're on it. I think the ride time's about a minute and a half. And I was listening to the Universal podcasts, and they had one of the designers on, and they said that it is the longest coaster Universal has made. It is also the longest coaster that Mack has ever made. So just lengthwise, it definitely feels substantial.
Are there separate queues for the 2 sides?
Not really. So there's one main queue, and then there's metal detectors. So this is the one ride at the park that will have metal detectors. Then once you go through those, there's a split between yellow and green. But there's probably at most 10 minutes of queue. I mean, you're pretty much, I mean, you are in the station. So um, you really don't split until the very last moment.
Do you have, you rode both sides?
Yes.
Was there any noticeable difference between them? Did you have a favorite?
Honestly, I'm going to say no. I'm trying to figure out why people are saying green is more intense. I really don't know. I feel like when I got off, I was like, that it feels identical. Like there's no, to me, discernible difference. I've only done green once, though. I've done yellow 2.5 times, which we can get into if you want to. I did get evac'd off the second launch, the most recent time.
Wow, Shane, you managed to do everything already. There's nothing left for you.
I know. I even got evacuated. Yes. So I think there's pretty much no difference in between the two. So if there's a longer line for green or yellow, just go to the other one. It doesn't matter.
I've got to share my one complaint, and maybe actually you can tell me if this is true. Okay, all of the pictures I've seen, the green side does not look green to me. It looks like a different shade of yellow.
No, I'm with you there. It's like,
not. This is like green. Yellow and mustard. It's like, come on, guys.
It's really weird.
How am I supposed to know what side's what?
Yeah, that's a good point. It's definitely not green, and I actually almost wish they went with something else. I don't know, maybe silver or something, like something that's a little,
just call it something different,
or just do 2 yellow.
Yeah.
But I think it's okay. I mean, when you're looking
very
at
minor,
it's definitely no, for sure. It's discernible enough when you're looking at it. You can definitely tell it is a different color, but yeah, it's more of a mustard yellow.
One of those things, looking through pictures and being like, people talking about the green side and the yellow side. I'm like, wait, which of these is one? These all look. It all looks like yellow track to me. I don't know what's going on.
It's pretty much the same, just different shades.
We should also point out Nick made a fantastic recreation of this in Roller Coaster Tycoon Classic on mobile that he shared on our Instagram page.
It's great.
So if you really want to understand the layout, that's actually probably the best way to
take a look. But the layout, it's really impressive because it's kind of different than any other racing or dueling coaster. I think Universal describes it as like the trains are like dancing with each other, and honestly, like it's a great way to describe it. Like there's really no moments other than the launches where you're like directly next to each other. So it really feels like they're just kind of interweaving with each other, especially on that second launch, because they intentionally will launch green first on the second launch because it will spiral over you on the celestial spin element. If you're on the yellow side, you'll see it above you, and then you'll invert downwards, so it'll be under you. So really, it doesn't feel like a race. There is actually a thing at the end on the brake run. There's like these checkered flags that will light up depending on which side won. But really, it just feels like they're kind of weaving together.
Yeah, some of the videos I saw, it looks like they have the ability to adjust the speeds during the second launch to time up the interaction better.
Super interesting.
Like there was, Bio Reconstruct had one video where like the yellow train was pretty far behind and it caught up almost to the other train by the end of the second launch. So that was pretty cool to see it get like that extra boost.
Yeah. And I think we can have faith that Universal will actually be able to use that, and the operations will be good enough that trains will usually launch together.
Yes.
All those things that don't always work with some racing or dueling coasters at other theme park chains.
Every single time I saw it, it was dueling. Like 99% of the time. So I think it will duel very consistently.
Very cool. Good. Any other like highlights of Celestial Park that you feel like people weren't noticing or haven't talked about?
I just think that it really does feel like a park. I mean, Universal said they're going to put the park back in theme park with this land, and I think they did it. I think it needs more overhead shade because that's kind of a thing with the park in general. The Florida sun is beating down for sure. But there are lots of little gardens and water features. it is unbelievable at night because it almost feels like Pandora at Animal Kingdom, where there's like lights inside the plants. It's not quite that bioluminescent, but um, it is really stunning. And there's this giant fountain in the middle, right in front of the Helios Hotel, that's going to be used for the nighttime show, which unfortunately was not running when I got any of the previews that I went to. I think it's running now for pass holder previews, but it's just sort of on during the day, and it's really like a gorgeous. Like there's actually even like kind of these grassy bleachers that you can sit on and just kind of relax and look at the fountain. Um, it's a really great space to hang out in, just Celestial Park in general. I think they do a really good job of giving it its own unique identity. It doesn't feel like, oh, we have to go back to the hub area. Like it's really has its own feel, and it's very unique. There's no other theme park land that I've been in that's quite like it. So it's definitely just has just as much merit as the IP lands.
Maybe hopefully maybe over time some the trees grow out some more and it gets
I think
more
they will.
overhead shade.
Yeah, I think for sure.
I think we can start going around different lands, but that maybe brings to one question I have is purely from a like portal and entrance point of view, because each land has like a portal that goes into the land. I assume they're kind of hidden behind those is the idea.
Yeah, they are.
Specifically the portal, not the land behind it. Did you have a favorite portal, or do you want to rank the 4 portals?
The portal itself?
Yeah. Which was the most fun to walk through? Or the experience of exiting the portal, which one was like?
Okay, so that's 2 different questions.
That's fair.
Physically, I think I like the Dark Universe portal because I think it's the coolest. It's like a giant Tesla coil, basically. But for sure, the coolest land reveal is Super Nintendo, which is also my new favorite theme park land. I think it is unbelievable. The moment that you walk in there, you won't forget it.
I assume you have not been to any other Nintendo lands.
No, this is my first one.
Nick, have you been to one?
Nope.
So I think I probably had a similar experience. I've been to Nintendo Land in Japan, and I had my reaction of like you come out of the pipe and then like go through. Is it similar where there's like then a lobby? You exit into like Princess Peach's castle lobby.
Peach's castle. Yeah.
Stepping out of that and just like suddenly you're assaulted with
Mario
music and coin chimes and like stuff moving everywhere.
Yeah, it is
similar
really
reaction.
Mind blowing. I was just like wow, like it is just an instant immersion. Like it's so, like you said, it's overwhelming, but in the best way. Like there's colors, like vibrant colors and noises from everywhere, and the music. Everything you look at is moving. The coins are moving. There's like Mario characters moving. The clouds are moving. It's a like literally mind blowing reveal.
So let's start with Nintendo then. That's also, is that going in order? Is that the first? Yeah,
it is.
That's sort of going in counterclockwise order. Let's start with Nintendo World then. What did you think? Having not been to any, and when I was in Japan, Donkey Kong was not open. So I'm curious also your thoughts on Donkey Kong. But in general, thoughts on Nintendo World?
I will have to really try to keep this brief because I have so much I could say about this land because it caught me completely off guard. I would not say I'm a big Mario or Nintendo fan at all.
Yeah, same.
I played the games growing up, I think like everybody did. But it hasn't been something that I've been connected to in probably a decade. So I was like, yeah, I'm excited for the land. I think it's going to be cool. I'm excited for Donkey Kong. But as far as emotionally, I wasn't attached to any of the characters or the locations really or anything like that. So I think that's what caught me off guard the most is simply looking at it from a theme park perspective and not really having an attachment to the IP, which is like this, like I was overwhelmed with emotion when I entered this land because I was like, this, like they did it. It's fully transportive. there is no question you are in this video game world. So I was pretty floored going in there, and I've been in there a few times, and every time is a similar reaction where I'm like, I can't believe this is real. I can't believe this is something I'm standing in the middle of.
I'm curious your thoughts. We'll talk about Donkey Kong a little bit, but first the Mario Kart ride, which I think, as people wrote it in Hollywood and Japan, maybe some mixed responses from some people. I personally enjoyed it, especially the second time I wrote it, where I kind of knew what I was doing a little bit more. What did you think? What did you think of? What was your take on the Mario Kart ride?
Pretty much exactly the same as yours. The first time I wrote it, I didn't quite get it. I was like, okay, I know what I'm doing, I guess. Because so the ride is you are in a Mario Kart, and the big standout of the ride is that it uses augmented reality. So you have it's not quite a headset, but it's a visor.
Yeah,
it's a visor. It's pretty much a big transparent visor that goes down in front of your eyes, and then there's a projector that will project things onto it. And it's super cool. Like the first time you sit in there and you look down and you kind of see the display that's AR, it's super neat.
So the sets are physical, but then you're seeing like projected characters, right?
Yeah. And so part of the idea is also then you can see like the shells you shoot and like, whoever you're chasing, but like on a physical track.
Yeah, it's a great way to do it. And they have a little intro at the beginning that's like, when the arrow lights up, turn the wheel in that direction and shoot get the shells and shoot them. But really, the first time,
the ride vehicle is just like the Men in Black vehicle, right?
Yes, which is super interesting because, like, when you think Mario Kart, you're like, okay, this has to be fast and it has to do tight turns and things like that. And I really say they kind of nailed it the way they simulate it in the vehicles. Like so everyone has their own steering wheel. And you really feel like you are the one in charge, like, especially because of the AR, it feels very personal. Like it feels like it's your vehicle, even though there's somebody either next to you or in front of you, behind you. It really feels like you're in control of, which is very cool. And the physical sets in this are massive. And I didn't really notice it the first time because, you're kind of there's a lot going on. You're definitely going to need multiple rides. There's things happening in front of you. There are things happening beside you. There's augmented reality characters like bumping you and racing in front of you. There's some screen sections. There's parts where the AR interacts with the physical sets and the screens as well, which those moments are some of the coolest, where they combine a physical or like outer effect with the AR. Is very, very cool. But then the second time I wrote it, I was like, all right, I know what this is going to look like and feel like. And I thoroughly enjoyed it the second time. Because I was like, I kind of get what they're going for here. And there was even some scenes where I was like talking to my friends. Was that in that the first time? Like, did we do that scene? They were like, yeah, we did. Like, so I'm sure that this is one of those rides where the more you ride it, the more you'll notice.
Donkey Kong. So like I said, Donkey Kong I've not been to. It was still under construction when I was in Japan.
Yes.
The ride was something that Nick, I feel like you wrote about this a decade ago or something.
A long time ago.
the like universal patent for it. It's exactly what even then you thought it would be.
Yep.
So the ride simulates on a track with like broken parts of track that you jump over and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
How does it feel, and does that like work?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So this is another one where I appreciate it more my second ride. I was in the back row both times. The first row, there was a taller guest in front of me. So I will say, if you are on the shorter side, or really in general, you're going to want to sit in the front because it is very difficult to see the track jumping moments if you're in the back row and there's people in front of you. They are elevated. But even then, I mean, I'm like 6'1", and the first time I rode it, I couldn't really see the track jumping. But even that aside, the first time I thought it was very fun. I was taken aback by how, I'm not going to say rough because it's not rough, but it's a sudden, there's lots of sudden motions where you're kind of thrown in one direction. And I think the second time, like really being able to look around and seeing the scenery, I appreciate that because it actually, I mean, it feels like you are on a runaway minecart vehicle. You're really being thrown every direction. There are more coaster moments than I thought. Like, I really thought that this was going to be pretty straightforward. Like, there's going to be a little hill when you jump over something, but there's two like legitimate drop moments, and it is really good. I would almost compare it to like Journey to Atlantis at SeaWorld Orlando specifically, because that's the one I've done. It kind of feels like those coaster sections, the two kind of twisted drops that are on this. But the second time I rode it, I had a better view. And it is just so much fun. And I will say a big concern was like, will you be able to see the other coaster track and the coaster arm when you're on the ride? And you really can't. I mean, you can if you look over the side and like look for it.
If you look for it.
But that's like any of those rides, though. You know, like Escape from Gringotts. If you're not looking at the screen and you're looking to your left, you can see the motion bases and stuff. But yeah, that's what my biggest question for that ride was just how does it feel like being on the end of that arm so far away from the track? I imagine it'd be maybe like a wing coaster or something.
Sort of, yeah. It's kind of like that where, but it's also weird because when you're on the ride, like it really does feel like you're going on the track, the fake track, and like the moments where it sort of separates from that and then like lands back on it. I think they absolutely nailed the feeling, and also something that I haven't seen many people talking about. This coaster is just as much fun to look at from the outside than it is to ride, because you have these like exaggerated cartoon vehicles with actually spinning wheels on them, like doing these like motions. It's super cool. It's definitely more, I mean, from the outside you can see the arm, but it's just fun though. The way that it moves is very like cartoony, and it's just kind of a goofy attraction, and I love that personally because that's exactly what I wanted. I was like, I want this to feel like a wild video game ride, and it totally does.
I think a friend of mine who also got to go to a technical rehearsal, I think, described it as janky, but not necessarily in a bad way.
Yeah, it's janky, but not rough.
Very cool.
There's sudden turns and jolts, but I would not say it's uncomfortable. It's definitely not uncomfortable, but you will be taken aback for sure.
Obviously, they like. I assume operations were still being worked on during previews. Don't expect full operations, but could you tell? Because like each cart is a single cart, right? It's not a train.
Oh yeah. It's individual. So there's
how long do you think those lines are going to get?
Well, okay, it's interesting because when I was there for previews, like there were moments where it got to 100 minutes. But now,
terrible.
The past 2 days, we're recording this on Friday the 18th. I've been looking at the app, and the wait times have not gone over 45. So I think, I mean, when I was there the last time, there was announcements like they have limited ride vehicles. I think they were only running like 4 trains, which is with 4 riders per train. Obviously not good capacity for when it opens for real. But now for the past solar previews, they seem to have figured it out. So I definitely think this will be one of the longer lines in the park, just because of that. But Mario Kart has gotten the same wait times.
Yeah.
It's Mario Kart's pretty frequently like 65, 75 minutes.
All right. Any other highlights on Nintendo? Did you play any of the like game?
Yes.
I don't know if it's the same as Japan with like Bowser Jr. The challenge at the end. Yeah.
So I did want to talk about that because the only like actual souvenir that I got, at least the first time, was the power-up band, because I was like, I really want to see, like,
you gotta get one.
You have to. I will say that if you buy one piece of merchandise from Epic Universe, make it the power band, because I really believe that playing the games in the land itself is just as fun as the rides. I would literally, like, wherever we were walking to in the land, I would just run away when I saw a question block and just punch it and then run back and join the group, because you can't not. It's so satisfying to hit that and hear that coin noise. But the mini games are fun. I think that there's a good variety. They are family friendly, so kids can play them, but I also had fun. Like, I feel like adults can also have fun playing these games. They're not like dumbed down or, only for kids. Like, for sure they're designed where anyone can enjoy them. And then, yeah, so how it works is you'll get this power band and you have to play. I think there's either 5 games where you can earn a key. And then if you get 3 keys, you can do the Bowser Jr. challenge, where it's kind of a finale to the story of the land, is that Bowser Jr. has stolen this golden mushroom. And by playing the games, you're getting keys to his kind of hideout, where you go and then face off to get the golden mushroom back. So I think really you could spend half a day in Super Nintendo, especially this one, because Donkey Kong Country is essentially its own land. It looks different. It feels different. There's different things to do. It's really a testament to Universal Creative, how they have 2 Nintendo lands that feel distinctly different, but also, like, undoubtedly are both Nintendo, but there's really a different feel between the main Mario area and the Donkey Kong area.
Were there other attractions or games in the Donkey Kong area that you could play with your power band, or was it basically separate?
No, there's different games. You don't earn keys from them. Okay. But there is a drumming game, which is really fun because it's like a rhythm game where it's sort of interacting with this animatronic that will come out when you beat the game, which is very cool. And then there's other, like, little, it's almost like a scavenger hunt where you have to find, like, different puzzle pieces. So you're not getting keys, but you're kind of putting together pieces of this puzzle. And in the Universal app, there is a Super Nintendo section where you can track, like, how many coins you've got, how many achievements you've done. There's like a leaderboard. But for Donkey Kong, there's also a Donkey Kong meet and greet, which was not open, unfortunately, when we were there, but that will be there. And then there's a Donkey Kong food stand as well, where I got the Donkey Kong, I don't know the actual name of it, but the soft serve float that comes in this Donkey Kong barrel, where
nice.
it is.
Shane is showing us his mug. His
yes, yeah, I always like to have props around, but so yeah, it's like this. It's banana flavored Dole Whip, basically, that comes in this, like, banana flavored Sprite. I think it is. I don't know if that is what it is, but that's what it tastes like. And then it all comes in a waffle cone that is topped with chocolate pieces and caramel popcorn. So if you have a sweet tooth, you're going to want to check this thing out.
Yummy.
But you also get the cool souvenir cup. So good souvenir.
Nice. Should we move on, continue around the park to Dark Universe?
Yeah, absolutely. That's the next stop on the tour.
Is this tell us what you thought of Dark Universe? I think this is the Monsters ride is maybe the one that I've seen. I think for a lot of previews, maybe it wasn't open or something. I feel like I've read the least about the
so my
Monsters
first
ride.
2 previews, it was closed. The first time it was closed all day. The second day it opened like midday, and then we got in line, and after about an hour it broke. So it took me 3 visits. However, the past 2 days for past solar previews, I've seen it open consistently and with not that long of a wait. So yeah, so Dark Universe is the Universal Monsters themed land. It was the one I was most excited about because I love scary, creepy things, and it's just probably the coolest looking land from an outside. Like, before you enter the park, like, it's kind of mysterious and intriguing. The portal's cool. There's like electricity. And so you walk through the portal into the village, which is called Darkmoor. So you start by walking through this graveyard and crypt area, and then you enter the actual village. There's 2 attractions in Dark Universe. One of them is Monsters Unchained, which is the main dark ride, which is a Kuka arm ride similar to Forbidden Journey. And then there is a free spinning coaster, which is Curse of the Werewolf. Which those are the 2 attractions. This land is very small. It's the smallest of the lands for sure. They have expansion space, but as of now, it's pretty small. It's really like one loop where you kind of walk in. Straight ahead is Frankenstein Manor, which is where the dark ride is, and then there's like a little loop where Curse of the Werewolf is kind of in the middle, and you're walking all around it. The Burning Blade Tavern, which is the bar, is kind of in the back section where you've probably seen photos. It's the windmill from Frankenstein that actually catches on fire, and it's super cool when it does. And there's also a quick service restaurant and the Universal Monster makeup experience where you can get your face painted to look like a Universal monster. So even though it is a small land, there is a lot to do.
So what lessons do you think Universal learned from Forbidden Journey that they applied to Monsters Unchained?
So the biggest difference from a design perspective is Forbidden Journey, the Kuka arms are attached to the ride vehicles from the back. With Monsters Unchained, they're attached from the bottom. So the ride vehicle is sitting on top of the Kuka arm. So the loading station on Forbidden Journey, it's kind of up against the wall because the Kuka arm is behind you. With this one, the Kuka arm is under you. So the loading station is a massive turntable where the ride vehicles are going along, and the floor is like where the seat is. And then when you go on the ride, the Kuka arm is below you. So that's probably the biggest lesson. And then also the other enormous difference is there's none of the screen carousels like on Forbidden Journey where there's parts where you're fully engulfed in the screen and it's basically a motion simulator.
And that's probably the part of the ride that gets most people motion sickness.
Yes.
So I'm assuming that's then a big improvement on this ride.
Yeah, I would say that if you're someone who gets motion sick, this probably will be better for you. I also think it's tough. Some of the moments on this I don't think are as I guess nauseating. There's less like spinning and tilting on this
flipping.
one. Yeah, less flipping. Like Forbidden Journey, there's moments where you're almost like upside down. There's really not many moments on this. I don't want to go into too much detail because this is like there's definitely a lot of spoilers when it comes to this ride, but I will say there are more screens than I was expecting. I was expecting this to be like 90% physical with screens mostly used as the background. I would say it's probably about 75% physical, and then there are some sections where it is a screen, but there's always something else going on. Mainly with the animatronics, which the animatronics on this ride are some of the best I've ever seen, and there are a lot of them. Every scene has at least 1 or 2 animatronics in it. So that's also a huge improvement. And there's lots of physical sets on Forbidden Journey too, but this one is very animatronics heavy.
Very cool. So like seeing pictures, I feel like, I mean, I'm very excited for that ride, but kind of excited just to look at the Burning Blade Tavern and the windmill on fire. Is that the like best in the middle of the park prop in any of the lands?
I would say no, because it's much smaller than people are envisioning. And it's kind of a shame because it's sort of hidden away at the back of the land.
It's not Gringotts Dragon.
No, that's a good comparison. No, I sort of expected it to be. So it is not quite that. However, Frankenstein Manor is totally like that, where there are these moments where
it's just like lightning bolts and stuff, right?
Yes,
there's like electricity on it. Yeah,
dark energy is like all flowing. Like everything in the land will stop, the lights will flicker, and these like power surges will go towards the mansion, and these like cables with the electricity will kind of surge, and it's fun because there's walk around characters and the land as well. Um, and the first time that I visited, I was talking to the Invisible Man, which is an awesome interaction, and you totally should make a point because he will sort of roast you. And when I was talking to him, this happened, and the characters all kind of stop and make a comment. Oh, Victoria Frankenstein is doing her experiments, and so it's very cool. The land feels very tied to the mansion, but the Burning Blade is very cool also.
And how's the spinning coaster? Because to me, that's like the one ride when looking at the models and the overhead images. It seems like that was kind of a last minute addition. Like, well, we need to add something else here.
Definitely. So if you look actually at the original concept art, there's a theater there. There's like an arena, almost like a phantasmic, like kind of show
Oh,
there.
really?
And then eventually that got replaced with this. But I think it fits into the land very well. It definitely does not feel like a last minute addition. And I think it's honestly probably more fitting than a stage show would have been. It's sort of stands out where even when you're outside of Dark Universe, some places in Celestial Park, you can kind of see it like peeking out. It's fun. I definitely think it is. I really had no expectations for it because I was like, yeah, it's a spinning coaster. That's pretty cool. But this is really like more thrilling than I thought. It's definitely not a thrill coaster, and families will still enjoy it. But there's some moments kind of in the second half that are really like whippy turns, and they're designed to really like get the car spinning. I mean, the first time I rode it, we were spinning like crazy. Like you can really get some good spins. So it is fun. I definitely think it's worth doing. It is probably not going to have too much long of a wait. I feel like it's a pretty short ride and they have good capacity. So, and it's, I think, the most reliable of all the attractions in Epic Universe. I don't think I ever saw it go down for anything. Everything else, I think, went down at least once in the times that I visited. But yeah, I think it's a great addition. There's like a little show scene in the middle where I was hoping that there would be animatronics. They are static figures in that scene. But honestly, you're going in and out of there so fast, it doesn't really matter. It's kind of like the Raptors on Velocicoaster. Like you're going by so fast that if it was an animatronic, I feel like some seats you won't even be able to see it. So it is fun. It is super cool.
Very cool. Should we continue in around the circle?
Let's go to How to Train Your Dragon next, because I want to end with with Ministry.
This is also one that I think I've seen the fewest pictures of, and like I've seen maybe the first two movies, and like know roughly it's Viking themed.
Yeah, me too.
That's like all I know about
same
How
here.
to Train Your Dragon.
I'm not overly familiar. Again, like you, I've seen the movies. I don't really have an emotional attachment to the IP, but I was excited for this land because it's the biggest. It's the largest land, and it totally feels like it when you're in there. It is really spread out, and it feels really like natural. Like there's lots of greenery and rock work, and the huge, like there's like a lake or lagoon in the middle that the Hiccups Wing Gliders coaster kind of skims over a few times. So yeah, it's a really big land. And I think this is going to be one where families can spend a lot of time in, kind of similar to Nintendo, where if you have younger kids, they're going to really like it. Like there's a Viking playground in here. There's lots of like things and props around to go and look at. But just as a land in general, I really think its scale is really impressive. It feels like it's even bigger than it is. There's just like lots of pathways to go on. There's lots of little areas you can go and explore. There's so much to look at. There's so many dragons, whether they be static figures or most of them are animatronics, or at least have a moving like feature. it's a really visually striking land.
Were there maybe we can talk a little bit about Hiccup's Wing Gliders, but I'm also curious about the other attractions in the land because, like you said, it's the biggest. So I assume I know there's at least there's the flat ride like Dragon Rally Challenge, something like that.
Yeah. So Dragon Racer Rally. I don't remember
Challenge Racer
what
or
this
whatever.
is called. Yeah, it's the same thing. It's basically
too many of these things.
Yeah, I can't remember what the actual name of this attraction is because this exists other places. I think it's at the Mall of America and it's at Lost Island. It is one of those rides where you're in a seat and you have controllable wings, and if you get them at the right angle, you can flip upside down.
Yeah.
I actually have not been on this. This one and then the fire drill attraction, also in Isle of Berk, are the two attractions I haven't done yet. But it looks like a lot of fun. I have heard that it is much harder than other parks to get a flip. The most I've seen is 2 flips. The cycle is also very short, probably just for capacity reasons. But it is really cool to look at. It adds a lot of kinetic kind of visuals to the land where you see these.
Yeah.
There's 2 side by sides. You see these 2 rides kind of going in sync. There's a dragon on the end of it. It kind of looks like it's like pushing it.
And it looks like it's
very cool.
It looks like it's set in like the stadium or arena that I think that's from
maybe
the
like
first movie.
Yes.
Yeah.
There's bleachers behind it where like in the movies they do like dragon racing where and it's cool. It's colorful. I think people will like it, and you don't have to flip. So if you just want to sit on it to get a great view of Epic Universe, which is probably what I will do, it's great for that reason too.
How is Hiccup's Wing Gliders?
It's a lot of fun. That's the one attraction that I really wish I could have done more. I only did it once. I only did it on my first day. I really wish I could have done it more because I really want to be able to kind of rank it and judge it fairly. I would say for me, it's about on the same level as Curse of the Werewolf, but where Curse of the Werewolf is a little more thrilling, Hiccup's Wing Gliders is really long. It's probably, I would guess it's about the same as Stardust Race. It's probably about a minute and a half. And what my favorite thing about it is that it is really serves as kind of a tour of the land. There's a couple tunnels. There's 2 show sections. There's 2 launches. So each launch kind of has its own show scene. And there's some really cool animatronics that are in there. And the on-ride audio is awesome on this. The music totally immerses you in the ride. There's some dialogue lines too to kind of get the story across. So this is probably the ride that I'm most excited to try out again because I only got one ride on it, and the layout is actually pretty interesting. It's very spread out, but there's some good elements in here. So I'm excited to get back to this one.
Very cool. Nick, any questions about anything you want to follow up on about Island?
This land has lots of like interactive characters as well, right?
Oh yes, thank you. I'm glad you brought that up. So this land has walk around characters. So there's the characters from the movie that will walk around. There is the character called Gobber, who's like the blacksmith, where he has kind of like a workshop area, and he in the movie he has like a detachable arm that you can put different like accessories on, and they do it for real in the land. Like there's different accessories that like the actual actor can like pop them off and switch them out, which is super cool. And then there is the Toothless meet and greet where Toothless will always be there, and then at certain times throughout the day, Hiccup will also come out and meet with Toothless. But even when Hiccup is not there, there's just like a Viking that will sort of guide you through the interaction. And I did get to do this a few times. And it's super cool because you can actually like, you touch it. You can touch the animatronic. And it's awesome like how close you can get to it. And just seeing all the detail, it's so realistic and it feels so real. There's lots of like little micro movements in around Toothless's eyes and nose. Like there are these really like fine movements, and I'm really impressed actually that they designed it to be so realistic and move this way when, hundreds of guests are going to be touching it on the face every day. So I think it's great. And we got to go at a time where Hiccup was there, which was super cool. This is probably one of the most accurate theme park actor lookalikes and soundalikes that I've seen. There's the tons of videos that you can go watch of these actors, but it's just super cool, and it really feels like they actually take the time, like probably about a minute of an interaction. Like it's not just okay, go up, take a picture, and leave. Like they really do a good job of like introducing you to the dragon and showing you how to approach it and touch it. So it's kind of attraction in and of itself, where it's one of the main draws of the land. There's also a show in the land as well, which I got to see.
Oh, nice. Well, maybe we can talk about Ministry of Magic first. But my reaction is to both Super Nintendo and How to Train Your Dragon and all the concept art pictures. It's always very bright. Looks like a nice sunny day.
Yes.
Dark Universe is in all the concept art. It looks like it's nighttime. It's like, how do those? So I'm like curious because we also will talk. You mentioned Celestial Park looks great at night. How does Isle of Berk look at night? And then how does Dark Universe look if it's bright and sunny out during the day?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I would say that Ministry of Magic and Dark Universe look cooler at night, and Isle of Berk and Nintendo look cooler during the day. Isle of Berk is cool at night. There's lots of like lanterns and like themed lighting. But overall, I think I like it better during the day because it's easier to see the detail. Same thing with Nintendo.
Yeah.
Dark Universe during the day, it's still cool because everything, like the architecture and everything, is obviously very dark. It's a lot of like dark wood and rubble and dark stone. It looks just as good during the day as at night, though. It's definitely cooler at night because you feel it's a little spookier. And actually, Dark Universe has a different score at night than during the day as well. They're actually they sell a Dark Universe vinyl, which is awesome. It's super rare, so if you see it in the store and you want it, get it because it probably won't be there the next time. But the music is composed by Danny Elfman, who has done like the Michael Keaton Batman movies, a lot of other Tim Burton movies, Nightmare Before Christmas, and things like that. So Epic Universe actually has as a whole has a lot of that. Stardust Racers, the onboard audio is different at night. There's different music. I'm sure Celestial Park is the same way. But the park really takes on a different identity at night. So I hope that they keep it open because the other two Universal parks have a tendency to close at 7 or even 6.
Very frustrating. Very frustratingly.
Yeah, so I hope that Epic Universe is the other end, because literally, I mean, there's like LED lights in the ground, and each portal has different lighting and effects at night. Even Stardust Racers, the way it interacts with the environment is different at night. Things will change color at night, like the surroundings. So this really is a park that is meant to be seen in the nighttime. And I think they obviously know that because they built it this way. So I'm very hopeful that this will be a park that is open until ideally like 9 or 10 every day.
Midnight, Disneyland style. Midnight every day.
I would love that. I would love that.
Let's head over to the whatever. This is also called the Wizarding World of Harry Potter, but
yes,
with a subtitle, Ministry of Magic.
Yes.
My understanding, this was originally intended to be based around the Fantastic Beasts movies. I assume because those kind of flopped and other reasons. Pulled back a little bit from that, but it's set in the mainland is set in the time period of the Fantastic Beasts movies, which is 1920s France,
1920s Paris. Yeah, which I'm actually glad they kept. I'm not a huge fan of those movies. I don't remember them. I remember liking the first one. But the other two I don't remember as much of, but I think that they nailed the most important thing from those movies, which was the environment.
It looks like Paris in the 1920s.
Oh, totally. I mean, this, being there with some friends who have either lived or visited Paris, they all say that it's actually kind of crazy how close it is. I mean, the scale of this is huge. In the reveal video, they were saying that the shortest building in this land is taller than the tallest building in Diagon Alley. So that will give a sense of scale. But pretty much everything about this land is massive. It's huge. There's like little side streets to explore. There are tons of shops and restaurants. There's a bar. There's a quick service restaurant. There's 2 quick service restaurants. There are a couple butterbeer stands. Or I'm not going to attempt the French pronunciation, but that is what they're called in the land. They have their own wand shop there with some unique wand designs. Some of the interactive wand areas, I did bring my wand. I don't have the new version, but even if you have the older version, they will still work. So some of the interactive wand effects are incredible and some of the coolest that I've seen. So definitely don't miss out on those. Kind of like Super Nintendo, like you can kind of just spend a good amount of time doing the interactive elements. But it's very cool because it's a different version of Paris, obviously because it's magic, but also because it's the 1920s. So they have walk around characters here as well. They've got students from Hogwarts, Ilvermorny, and Beauxbatons, which are the American, British, and French wizarding schools. So it's fun to see their interactions with each other. Like there's some rivalry between the schools, and they'll tell you about like the other 2, I think, are exchange students that are visiting. So there's some story. There are also French aurors, which are like the police, like Dark Wizard. I did get interrogated for not having a wand permit by one of these aurors. And I think that's something about Epic Universe that they've really honed in on is the entertainment. And it really stands out because you can have some really excellent interactions with every single land. And those are honestly probably going to be some of the more memorable moments from a visit to Epic Universe. Even if you're not a person who would normally approach the characters, which I am not, it's just fun to observe them and interact with them. And I think that goes a long way where they're going so far into the immersion where there's only one entrance and exit to each land. Like these portals are so self-contained, and by committing a lot of that to entertainment, it really sells the immersion. So I really hope that this is something that sticks around past the opening year, because I think it goes a long way to kind of bring these lands to the next level.
You have a very detailed review of the what's the full title? Harry Potter and the
Battle at the Ministry. Yes,
and so that takes place in original Harry Potter movie time period.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. So it is interesting. A big theme of the land in general is time. There is a time turner on the portal that actually rotates because you're going from 1920s Paris to 1990s, which is when the Harry Potter movies take place. So you enter, and there's also a show in the land, which I'll talk about after, which is cool. But yeah, since we're talking about the ride, so you enter the Paris subway to what's called the Metro Flu, which is flu powder, like in the movies where you go in the fireplace and you get transported. This one, you're also getting transported in time as well. I wish there was a little bit more of an explanation for that.
Well, that was like sort of my question of like, do they bother explaining it, or is that like, whatever, kids want a Harry Potter ride, the new movies weren't good, we'll keep the land Paris, but the ride will be Harry Potter?
They do not, and I wish they did, because I was actually really looking forward to how they were going to explain
what's going on,
that you're going from 1920s to the 1990s. And honestly, they don't touch on it.
the decision that the average guest does not care.
Yeah,
Maybe.
which I think is fine, and I'm only saying that from like a theme park storytelling Harry
Yeah.
Potter fan perspective. I honestly think it's fine, even with that aside. The effect is super cool when you walk through it. It's actually cooler to see other people going through it because it really does look like they are disappearing. Um, and then when you walk in, that transition from the Metro Flu into the Ministry of Magic is totally breathtaking. It is a massive. I almost want to call it an indoor land because
Yeah.
I mean it's enormous. It's bigger than any other theme park set I've ever seen.
Bigger than Rise of the Resistance.
Yes, for sure. Which is what I was going to compare it to. Like going in, I was like, well, is it going to be as big as some of those scenes, like that AT-AT room in Rise of the Resistance?
Yeah.
Yes, it is that tall, if not taller, and then it also extends way back. I mean, this queue is huge. I did walk through the whole thing because the first time that I went, the attraction was not open, so they were just letting people go in and walk through the queue line.
Oh, cool.
And it's huge. It's huge. They've said I believe it can hold 8 hours of queue space, and
I'm
I
not sure I like
believe
hearing that. But
No, I
They're
don't.
like,
I
we're
hope
planning
that it
for
won't
8.
get to that, but they've definitely planned for it. But it's huge. You walk in, and there's just like the movie. There's the ministry offices, and there's the main fountain, and there's this huge like banner where it's showing the Dolores Umbridge character. So the storyline of this attraction is um, this attraction actually takes place after the movies, which I think is a very cool decision. So it is the trial of Dolores Umbridge for her crimes against the wizarding world. So the story of this attraction is that you've come into the ministry to watch the trial. So the whole time as you're going through the queue, there are of course talking portraits, as any good Harry Potter attraction would have, and they're kind of giving some backstory about the attraction, and you get to walk through a couple different areas of the Ministry of Magic, some that are straight out of the movies and some that are original, which is cool that they have both. There's tons of Easter eggs if you're a big Harry Potter fan that you'll love to see, that you're going to want to take pictures of, especially because it takes place after the movies. So like you'll see the offices and the locker rooms for Harry, Ron, and Neville, who are training to be Aurors. And you can see sort of how it looks after the sort of movie story has ended. So I think that's a really cool decision that they went that route with it.
Did you? I think if anyone wants lots more details and the should check out your review on the website. I read it. It's excellent. It made me want to go on the ride and look at the queue. It actually made me want to look at the queue mostly.
Yeah, the queue is awesome. It's probably, I mean, for sure, it's got to be the best theme park queue I've ever seen.
Are there other attractions in the land, or you mentioned there's a show?
There's a show, yeah. So
is that the only
real
other,
quick,
like,
just to finish up with Battle at the Ministry, that is the only actual ride.
Okay,
that is the only ride in the land. There is the show as well, that's in the Paris section, but yeah, Ministry of Magic is the only ride. So the theme is that the ride is you're on these big 14-seater ride vehicles. There's 2 rows. So there's 8 seats in the back and then 3 sets of 2 seats kind of in the front. And I really don't want to say too much because I would like people to not be spoiled, because this is probably one of the coolest and most technologically advanced rides I've ever seen. It is a feat of engineering what they've done with this, but essentially it is the Transformers or Spider-Man range of motion on stilts. So it can move throughout the attraction, it can tilt, it can turn, but then it can also kind of go up and down. And really, like, the most fascinating thing about this ride is I kind of thought going in, like, okay, it's kind of going to be like Tower of Terror or the drop on Rise of the Resistance. It's not like that. It's more of a bouncing than a dropping motion. And really where the ride excels is in the smaller movements and the smaller motions. I feel like the other Harry Potter rides, like Forbidden Journey and Gringotts, they're kind of these big sweeping movements that kind of take you throughout the scene. But this one, there are some of those moments to be sure, but the moments where it really sells it are those smaller movements that if you've seen the movies, you know that the elevators in the movies can go up and down and sideways and backwards. And the first scene of the ride is pretty much getting you oriented to that feeling. And it is really impressive. It's one of those times where you really don't feel like you're on a ride. Like Gringotts or Forbidden Journey, they're incredible and they're immersive, but kind of in the back of your mind, you're like, okay, I'm on an attraction. But with this ride, you're there, you're in the moment. So I really think that they knocked it out of the park. It is a screen heavy ride, but these are unlike any other screen I've ever seen. They're not screens because they're not projection screens like a lot of other attractions. They are LED screens, kind of like the Bourne show at Universal. If anyone has seen that, is incredible, and it uses that like 8K or 12K screen, whatever it is. And there are certainly moments on this ride where I could not tell what was a screen and what was real. The things they do to play with depth and physical props, because there's tons of physical sets and props as well, including probably I will say definitely the best animatronic I've ever seen. I am still not convinced it wasn't a live actor that is on this attraction. But it is really, this is going to be one of those rides where the selling point of the whole park is going to be this attraction. And I think it is totally deserved.
So is this your top ride at the entire park attraction?
Definitely at Epic Universe. Yes. Stardust Racers and Monsters Unchained are close. They're very close. I'll definitely need more rides on both of them because I only have one ride on Monsters Unchained. Ministry, I only have one ride as well, but I was just completely, my mind was blown the whole time. So I think if you're a theme park fan, if you're a Harry Potter fan, if you're an engineering fan, you're going to want to check this out because this is going to be one of those rides where people are going to go home and tell their friends about it.
Very cool. Anything else specifically on Ministry of Magic you want to highlight?
No other. We can talk about the show that's out in the Wizarding Paris. It is a circus show where I think this is from the second Fantastic Beasts movie, where it's kind of like a magical circus, and it's very cool. I was expecting something more story based, and it's definitely something that's more like puppetry based. So kind of go in with those expectations, where like kind of the first half of it is like the circus show where they have circus acts mixed with magical elements. And then the second half is where it gets into more of the story and more of the Fantastic Beasts side of it. But there's some really cool things they do.
I don't know anything about the Fantastic Beasts, so I don't need the story part of it.
No, exactly. And I think they know that, and I think that's fine because really it's just kind of showing off the beasts themselves and the way they do it with puppets and animatronics and things. But there's some kind of moments of stagecraft, which are very cool. So if you're someone who's interested in that, you'll definitely want to check this out for that as well. But also, I'm not going to go into details, but I think the pre-show for this show alone makes this worth doing. It's one of the coolest things I've seen. The things they do with the illusions and the way they set it up is really spectacular. So definitely make this show a must-see just for the pre-show itself, because it's really incredible what they were able to do with it.
Cool.
Very cool.
So top ride, it sounds like those three maybe lean in Harry Potter a little bit.
Yes, definitely.
Is there a ride that was like underrated or maybe most surprising to you that was not like something people talked about that you were like, wait, that was really fun. That would be one of my top 5 rides, and nobody's mentioned this before.
I would probably say Curse of the Werewolf. I don't think it would be in my top 5, but for an attraction that I was kind of indifferent to, I came out really liking it. And then similarly, Donkey Kong, I was very excited for, and it met my expectations.
Cool.
So I think both of those, Donkey Kong's another one of those rides where people are going to be talking about it because it's unlike anything they've seen.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would say kind of the sleeper hit for me was Curse of the Werewolf.
Good to know, especially for roller coaster fans.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, if you're a roller coaster fan, I mean, make this a priority because between Stardust Racers and Donkey Kong and the other two family coasters, there's going to be something for everybody. And I think these coasters, Stardust Racers, I'm already seeing is in people's top 10, top 3, top 1. For me, it probably falls somewhere within top 5, top 10 as well. So, I mean, obviously, if you're listening to this, you're probably a coaster enthusiast. So please go to Epic Universe. You will love it.
So for like planning purposes, if I'm traveling there to go check it out, can you do everything in one day? Like how many days would I need to set aside specifically for this park in order to see everything, would you say?
Okay, so can you do this in one day? Yes. Would I recommend it? No. Because I basically did this park in one day on my most recent visit, and I essentially had zero downtime. This is very much a park where you're going to want to spend time just walking around. Whether that's doing the interactive things in Nintendo or talking to the characters or seeing the show. This is a park that very much benefits from having some breathing room to sort of step back and look at everything. So I would plan for 2 days. I would really not recommend doing one unless you have to, because I think there's just so much to take in. That you're going to need 2 days,
multiple days,
and also like there's some stuff that you would want to try. Like, we didn't really talk about the food. Maybe we'll do a separate podcast about that. But the restaurants all look great. I think Universal really stepped up their game because sort of a downside that at least I have, and I think is a pretty common opinion, is that the food is not great at the Florida parks for Universal. And I think they absolutely knew that. And it's a night and day difference because the quick service food at Epic Universe, everything I had was really good. So I think that you're going to want an extra day to kind of do little things like try a new restaurant or see one of the shows, take some time to look around the shops and restaurants because they're just as impressive and just as detailed as everything else. So I would absolutely budget your time for 2 days, definitely on your first visit.
But if you only had one day, there was no possible way to extend. How would you prioritize your day? Like, what attractions would you do target hitting first? To, not try to make your day the most efficient and get on the most things.
Yeah.
Like, any idea how you would structure your day, or what would you say? Like, you got to do this first to save time.
So what I would recommend, it's tough because since I've only seen it in previews, there's been some things that like either haven't been reliable or things that have been more crowded. So I don't know how it's going to be normally, but for me, I'm going to go into this assuming Battle at the Ministry is on a virtual queue, which I think it will be for some time, and it was for me, and it worked pretty well. So normally I would say just rope drop that, but if that's going to be on a virtual queue, I would say go to Monsters Unchained first, because it is probably the ride that is going to have the most downtime other than maybe Donkey Kong or Battle of the Ministry. So I would say to rope drop Monsters Unchained, and then I would say go to Nintendo and do everything there. Start with Donkey Kong. That's another thing. Most of the attractions here have a single rider line. So I made use of that a few times. It's worth it just splitting up your group if the wait times are like 100 minutes. but I would say do everything in Nintendo. So do Donkey Kong, do Mario Kart, even Yoshi's Adventure is pretty fun. It's like a slow moving people mover, but it gives you a cool bird's eye view. I don't. Did you do that in Japan, Eric?
I did. Yeah. Similar.
Okay.
Omni mover, slow moving, but was cute. Definitely, if
Yeah,
you've
I
got
think
like
it's
small
fun.
kids, I think it would be great.
Yeah, I wouldn't make a priority, but if you've got time, it's worth doing. And then I would probably say to um, go to Isle of Burke and do, since there is so much to do there. There's the water ride, fire drill. There's the flat ride, which we talked about. There's the coaster, and then the show. Um, I wouldn't say to prioritize the show for Isle of Burke. If you have 2 days, I think it's worth seeing just because there's some cool um, moments in it and cool scenes. But I wouldn't say it's a priority. Honestly, the same with the Harry Potter show. I would say of the two, I would say see the Harry Potter one. But if you're only there for one day, I would say just focus on the rides. Stardust Racers and Curse of the Werewolf seem to have pretty steady wait times and they're pretty reliable. So those two you can kind of do whenever throughout the day. I mean, by the end of the day, Curse of the Werewolf was like 5 minutes or 10 minutes. So even though it's tempting to do it while you're in Dark Universe, I would say save that one for later if it's anything over like 25 minutes because it will certainly go down to a lower wait time. So, yeah, I would say probably Rope Drop Monsters, then do Nintendo Burke, and then whenever your Ministry virtual queue is called, make your way over there. But I think the quick service restaurant in Paris, the main one there on the street, is probably the best food that I had there. So if you're looking for a place to have lunch, that's a good option. But you pretty much can't go wrong with any of the restaurants that I tried. So there's something for everyone in the restaurants. So yeah, it would be tough to do in one day, but I think it's doable, especially with the single rider lines.
Sort of following up just on those. So like obviously this is a Universal park. There are the two other Universal parks. Could you get a sense of like how somebody who's coming to Orlando to go to Universal on vacation would like manage to do this one with the other two that are not next to it?
Yeah. I mean, the main thing I would say is don't ever park hop to or from this park.
Yeah.
Because not only is it farther away, but there's just too much to do. I don't see any situation where I would recommend park hopping.
Would you recommend if I was going out there from California, like get the hotel by Epic Universe for 2 nights and then switch hotels to one?
For sure.
Okay.
Or just stay there because the transportation is pretty good. Like the buses at those hotels are pretty consistent and it's not that far away. It's probably 10 minutes.
They do have buses frequently running back and forth between
very frequently
the Epic Universe.
Yeah, so I would say if you're going, just do one of those. Do one of the value hotels at Epic Universe. But if you are staying at one of the signature resorts, the Express Pass after 4 p.m. will work at Epic Universe. So if that is something that's in your budget, at least as far as I know right now, that is planned to also work for Epic Universe. So if that's something that you can swing, then I would say do that because it's worth having the Express for Epic Universe because pretty much every attraction has it. But yeah, I would say if you're doing a Universal Orlando trip, I would say the ideal length would be 4 days. I think one for each of the existing parks and then 2 days for Epic Universe. But if you only have 2 days or 3 days, I would say combine the other two parks and then leave 1 or 2 days just for Epic Universe.
Cool.
Sounds good. And the most important question is we got a guest question here from Drew the intern at the In the Loop podcast.
Yes.
He wants to know what is your favorite bathroom? What's the best bathroom in the park?
Were all the bathrooms open?
Yes, all the bathrooms were open. That's a good question. I would say my favorite bathrooms are in Nintendo World because they are themed like a water level. and it's super fun. The music in there is water level music. There's like murals of the fish. But the Dark Universe bathrooms have black toilets. So whichever, I would say it's
The
probably a
theming
tie.
extends into the bathrooms.
Yeah, there is no theming. There's also a bench outside of the Dark Universe bathroom within a giant exploded bloody outline of a person. So that's cool too. So I would say those are the two most notable bathrooms that I experienced at Epic Universe.
Very cool. Anything else you want to share with us, Shane? I know that you've got the 2 articles. No, well, you could go back. There's the review of the hotel, also review of Stardust Racers, review of Battle for the Ministry.
Battle at the Ministry. Yeah.
Oh my God. The Ministry ride.
Yes.
Maybe some more reviews coming, or maybe even will be up already.
I was going to do it one big Epic Universe article, but it's looking like I'm going to have to split it into lands. So you can expect some more Epic Universe articles coming as fast as I can write them. So yeah, go check those out. They are spoiler filled, specifically the Battle of the Ministry one. So maybe wait on that one. But if you're a coaster enthusiast, which I'm assuming you are, I go into a lot of detail about Stardust Racers. So definitely check that out if you're interested in that coaster. And yeah, the 2 Value Hotel reviews are up there as well.
And then, so the park is open to, is it pass holders and hotel guests?
Yeah. So right now, if you're a Universal Pass holder, you can go on the website and book your preview tickets, which I would recommend. If you're listening to this and the wait times stay like they are today, I would recommend it. I'm actually thinking about doing it because it's too good to pass up these rides at like 15 minutes. So
hotel guests also have access?
Yeah. So if you're, I believe if you're staying at a hotel, you have to buy them in person, I think. So I don't know if there's a way to check availability ahead of time. I feel like there must be, but I just haven't done it myself, so I don't want to speak on it. But yeah, if you're booking a hotel, I would totally say it's worth it. If you're in the area, you book a value hotel. If you go to like either the Epic Universe ones or even the Endless Summer hotels, you can get those for like $90, $100 a night. I would say it's worth it if and pretty much everything is up and running now for Epic Universe. So if you're listening to this before, I think May 17th is when those previews end.
Oh, okay. So May 20th. I think they open to the public May 22nd. Is there a gap right now where they're ending previews before public opening?
Yes, I think there's like 4 days, 5 days, maybe a week in between. So yes, the previews go. I think it's until the 17th. So,
all right. And then public opening May 22nd. So
yes, we'll be there on opening day. So we'll have coverage. Tons of stuff on social media for sure.
Nick,
so yeah, it's coming up.
I do not have any plans to go yet, although I am very tempted if hotel guests can get. Nick, no plans yet?
Not yet, but I've got to come up with something.
Yeah, it's one of those, I was hoping to see like, oh, maybe I'll wait till crowds get lower, but reading and hearing everything you've talked about, Shane, I'm now tempted to ignore ignore waiting for crowds and maybe just go walk around and see if my power up band works in all Universal parks. I think it's
it will work.
That's benefit. Anything else you want to add, Shane?
I don't think so. I feel like this was pretty in depth. If you've listened this far, thank you for listening.
An hour and a half in, so it's probably. We're sorry for making it so long.
Yeah, there's just too much to say, and I could say more. So keep an eye out for those articles.
I guess if there's stuff that you would like to hear about from Shane that we didn't cover, if you've listened all the way through, you can find us on social media everywhere at Coaster101. Send us questions you want to hear. I'm sure Shane would happily get back on and talk more, answer questions, or answer your questions on Instagram, Blue Sky, X, wherever. I think that'll do it. Thanks to JMMD Entertainment for our music. Go to the site, read all of Shane's reviews, ask us questions on social media, and then keep listening to more episodes of the Coaster101 podcast. Thank you, Shane. Thank you, Nick.
Yeah, see you later, guys.
Bye. Sorry.